Hey everybody, how's it going? Going to talk today about the recent solar eclipse, the new moon that happened on Saturday in the sign of Taurus, and then move through what is going on up until the lunar eclipse that is happening on the 15th. But first, I would like to ask you to subscribe if you haven't. It helps me as I build the channel, and I super appreciate it. Please like and share. You can get a hold of me on at my website now at jovisstar.com. That's JOVSSTAR.com. I would be very grateful if you'd go over there and check it out. And if you have any questions, send me a message in the contact page. If you'd like to book a personal reading, you can send me a message there as well. Okay, so let's get right into what the heck is going on here. I'm sure all of us have felt some changes coming in our lives, and these eclipses during this month, during this time period, are here to kickstart that off. So let's talk about the new moon here, which occurred right here. You can see it, the moon and the sun conjunct, which happened at 1:28 p.m. on the 30th of April. So new moons, the sun and the moon come together, they're conjunct. It is a time for new beginnings. Something starts, a cycle of some sort starts. Now, when we're talking about the start of eclipse season, which this new moon did actually kick off, we're talking about the start of a cycle that is going to last for quite some time, generally related to the length of the eclipse. And this eclipse was about 3.5 hours long, give or take. So we're talking about kickstarting a cycle that will unfold over the next 3 to 3.5 years. So take a look at your birth chart, see where you have 10 degrees of Taurus. That's where this new moon hit. That's the area of life, which is the house that you can start to see changes occurred. Now, this new moon and this eclipse was even more interesting because it came with a punch from the planet Uranus, which is the great awakener, causes sudden changes or moves us quickly into the future. So something to kickstart this new beginning could have happened very suddenly, maybe not quite yet, but very suddenly compared to the length of this cycle that is beginning. So Uranus does bring sudden change, things that we may not have been expecting. It could have been an awakening of some sort, an epiphany, an insight. But one thing for sure is this new moon and this eclipse season in Taurus season is asking us all to take a look at what our life is structured like, what that means to us, how it's working. Is it serving our needs? Do we want to make changes? Are we going to plant the seeds to create something different in our life? That has to do with our finances. This eclipse season and this month, Taurus season, is heavily weighted on the value of our finances. So, and you know, of course, our finances feed into everything else that allows us to do and live and sustain in the way that we are most comfortable. So, you know, some of you may not be having any issues with income, but this could be a reflectionary time where you're looking at, does what I have meet my needs in terms of where I want to go? And so that is the theme in this month for these eclipses and in the month of May for Taurus season. So going further into that, if you haven't experienced a sudden change or an epiphany or something, or you know, maybe you're already starting to build your life around a different set of resources. Maybe you've already started to simplify or really have been working on what is important to you. And Saturn over here, I'm going to point out a couple of different points that are interacting with these energies that are significant. And Saturn over here in the sign of Aquarius has been asking us to work really hard on establishing our position in the community, maintaining our independence while also recognizing what the rest of the world is responsible for to us and what we are responsible for to the rest of the world. Sometimes my words get a little twisted, but Saturn is asking us to work very hard. What do we owe society? What does society owe us? Saturn, as we know, is also a teacher, can also cause restrictions. And when we're talking about society in general, we've all experienced a change or some kind of restriction in how we move out in the world. So for quite some time, we've had that lesson being shown to us. We've had to adapt to a changing world, a changing society. Saturn can cause frustration, so that may have made us feel frustrated, could have pulled us back and away from what we were used to, and forcing us to adapt and learn how to live differently based on the new rules of society. And we've all experienced changes in how we move in society. So Saturn is there saying, work hard, change things around. You might feel some restrictions because life has changed. And now many of us are starting to review for sustainability, for our own sustainability. Maybe we've been forced to. Saturn can force us to do things so we can dig our heels in and say, no, I don't want to change my life. And Saturn's like, well, you have to. And some of us may have chosen to change our lives, simplify things. Maybe we're tired of being a slave to the system and to society. And during the time where we were all feeling restricted for one reason or another, in addition to, of course, what we know has been going on for the last couple of years, this made us voluntarily sit down and say, okay, what can I do to rework the way that I live and interact with society in a simpler way, so that it's a modification of what's important. And I think we've all been sat down and said, okay, how do we modify what we really need so that we can live a life that is more soulful, that is more important to us, that also allows us to maintain our individuality and our strength in society as an individual, but also that helps society. So that is what's been going on. So you may have had many twists and turns and corners turned. Things come to your mind where you're just like, I'm done living that way. I see that the best way for me is to go a different way. So that requires us to modify the way that we used to live. And so this new moon is allowing us, or it could be the start of a new beginning where that's concerned, creating a new reality for us in our lives. And with Uranus there, something may have come up suddenly that pushed us into doing it a little quicker, or gave us some ideas and some innovative energies to work with that allowed us to start to make those changes. Now, this new moon was obviously with the North Node and the South Node as their companions. That is what makes an eclipse, is when a new moon or a full moon is traveling with the transiting nodes, and that's what those guys are there. So that is a universal push for all of us to create simplicity and look at what's really important in our daily lives. So Taurus is about comfort, it's about simplicity, it's about coming back to our bodies, paying attention to, planting and growing the seeds that are going to strengthen our positions in our bodies, in our lives, in our finances specifically, going forward into the future. And this new moon and this solar eclipse happening along with the nodes, of course, the universe is pushing us to do that. So we're all being nudged in one way or another. Now, the South Node here in Scorpio is all about letting go whatever we need to let go of to move towards something different, something more stable. And that could be, if we're talking about finances, that could be addressing our fears around debt, addressing our fears around our relationships in marriages, or relationships to the people that we owe or who owes us. The South Node in Scorpio brings up the issues that we need to deal with so that we can transform them and either let them go or rebirth them into something that is going to serve us better as we move in to a more simplistic place in our lives. So this last new moon solar eclipse really packed a punch in moving us towards our destined place when it comes to simplifying our lives in the world. These last few years and these last months have not been easy for a lot of people. So this makes it more important for us to all take our position in society seriously, take care of ourselves first and foremost, and offer what it is that we can to others in whatever form that might be. Maybe it's just encouragement, or maybe it's smiling at somebody in the checkout line, and maybe it's actually setting up processes and community resources that everybody can share in to help simplify and sustain our lives going forward. It can be a number of things, just all depends on where we're at in our lives. Some of us need a little bit of help. Some of us are able to give help. And then eventually, if we're all receiving equal resources, we can come together and help one another in a more balanced way. That is what I think is going on here during eclipse season, has been going on for quite some time. So I also want to point out all of this Pisces energy that has been present for the last few months, and this energy is really causing a lot of us to soul search. The universe is asking us to reach deep inside of our soul, think about what we believe in spiritually, feel and sense into what is going on in the collective, which helps us take on a level of responsibility in the collective. Like I was saying, what can we do individually and collectively? All of the energy in Pisces, Neptune, Jupiter, Venus has been in there until just now, and I'm going to roll the chart forward. We'll talk about where Venus has gone since this new moon, but Mars. And this is energy that is designed to dissolve social boundaries. So all of us are feeling compassion, sympathy, sadness. Somehow we are absorbing the collective subconscious energy, which can create, the hope is that it creates a more altruistic behaviors in all of us. All of us are being encouraged to really reach for what it is that we believe in, while we are sensing into what is going on in the collective. A lot of soul searching. Now, that can show itself in many different forms. Neptune and Pisces represent a lot of different types of things, endings, spirituality, chemicals, drugs, sadness, depression, confusion, all of those things. Those of us that are soul searching and reaching and looking for a higher connection, something to connect to, that is, sorry, my camera is doing some funny things, so I'm going to mess with it here for a minute. Searching for something that is that inspires us, that we've been connecting, or we're connecting to that, and moving away from things that we always thought we believed, or that we always did. Again, it all depends on where this is hitting in your chart. These last few months might have been just about that for us, really trying to get in touch with our feelings, and process any kind of sadness, or really soul search and expand what spirituality means to us. But there are other people, depending on what's going on in their chart, where they're at in the evolutionary process, that have experienced the feeling of all of this collective energy and the constraints and the changes that we've all been going through in society, that has affected our resources, has affected our income, has affected families and friends, and just everything in general that we touch and see has changed. Some people, this is they are finding much more difficult. So it has created sadness. It has created the need or the want to escape from reality. A little bit of, depression, escaping into drugs and alcohol. The universe has a way of bringing us into and through our pain to process all of that. It's a rebirth. It's the evolutionary process. It's not easy for everybody, but this time is designed for us to rework our lives, be responsible to ourselves and one another, because we can feel the collective energy. If we are in a position where we can feel that, speak to that, support others, again, in that kind of energy, that's what we should be doing. Getting each other through that. This is designed to dissolve the boundaries. Pisces, Neptune, all of this very heavily concentrated Piscean energy is designed to break the boundaries between all of us, so that we can come together, hopefully, having reworked our individual lives, and help one another. It will sustain our lives and our society in a much more calm and hopefully spiritual way, compassionate way, going into the future. So this new moon is the start of a new beginning for all of us to move towards that end. So take a look at where 10 degrees of Taurus, let me take a drink, 10 degrees of Taurus sits in your chart. That's where this started. For me, it's on the cusp of my 12th house, which is about changing what I believe in my head, behind the scenes, makes me worthwhile. This is about simplifying my thoughts and my ideals around what is really important. And boy, can I feel it. I can definitely feel it. So this is the evolutionary process. Now, let's not forget, we have Pluto over here in Capricorn, getting towards the end of Capricorn. It's transit in Capricorn to the end degrees, where there is a sense of urgency, where things kind of speed up. And Pluto is the planet of transformation, power, destruction. It is the planet of evolution. This transit of Pluto in Capricorn, and it depends on what house it is for you, is working hard to move you through, your soul through its intended evolution. That does not always feel easy. It can be very, very painful. It brings up fears and obsessions and everything that has been buried underneath or hidden away up to the surface, and it can feel uncomfortable if you're in a difficult place. In Capricorn, if you feel like you are under the thumb of Capricornian structures, which in astrology Capricorn represents our government structures, then this can be difficult, especially if you are in a situation where you are more dependent on government structures. Pluto is about moving things forward, but sometimes it can feel forced. And if you're in a position where it's sort of like prying yourself out of something that has grown around you or that you've grown into, kind of like, being placed in cement and your feet are kind of stuck there and you can't get out. And so the process to chisel away at that and extract yourself from that structure can be painful at times. But Pluto is at work here in all of this. And whatever it is that we're having to let go of, deal with, process, destroy, and evolve through and forward, the idea is that it comes out better on the other side. But it's painful while it's happening sometimes. And Pluto is at the end of its transit. It will be there. It's going to, in fact, it went into retrograde on Friday, the day before the new moon. That pulls that back into ourselves. So you might find yourself really thinking heavily about whatever it is that you're feeling a very strong change or any powerful emotions about. This is bringing it back into your psyche. So there is a little bit of relief, and more of the change is seen on the outer world when Pluto goes direct, but now Pluto is retrograde, and it's bringing us back into a place where we're really feeling things. Good news with that is that gives us some of our personal power back. Pluto is the planet of power. So we get some of that back to participate in the reworking, restructuring, and rebirthing of what our physical structures are. What have we built for ourselves in society? So this is an interesting time. We have a lot of support from the universe. One thing about Pisces energy is we can get lost in a dream or in confusion or in sadness, all of those things that I mentioned. But if we hold faith and we're searching for, soul searching for something higher, something better than what we had, the universe will come along and carry us there. Just have to have faith that is going to happen in the time that it's supposed to. Sometimes, like most of the time, these big evolutionary processes don't happen quickly, because if they did, what would we really learn from it? You learn from things by feeling it, right? So the deeper you feel something, the more significant the change, and the longer lasting the change is into the future. So very interesting and intense energies. I'd like to hear what you are cooking up. What are you planting the seeds for? What, if anything, has come up suddenly that has maybe pushed you in the direction of looking at your values in your life and your finances, and has you thinking about how to simplify those things? I'd like to hear. I'm certainly going through those things. So again, a lot of it depends on where this energy is hitting in your chart, that will give you clues as to how that might materialize. Although I'm thinking that most of you, most of us, probably already know what that is. So I wanted to come on and talk about this new moon because it's significant, and we have a lunar eclipse in Scorpio on May 15th, and I believe this is going to be an extension of this solar eclipse, this new moon. It's like the seeds are planted, your ideas are being born, something has come up to push you, and now this eclipse comes along, and it will be at 25 degrees of Scorpio, and I'll talk more about that later. This eclipse comes along and requires you to give something up to start something new. That is going to look different for everybody. Again, to give you some clues, it's going to depend on where that full moon hits in your chart, and that will tell you what area of life to expect some kind of change. Now, giving something up for one of us could be something negligible, something that is subtle and we realize it, but it's not devastating. For some of us, it can be giving up and losing things that we are very attached to. It all depends on what area of life that's hitting and if it's hitting any points in your chart. Now, if you are a Scorpio or a Taurus, this could be potentially significant. Also affecting the fixed signs very significantly, so that would be Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. If you have points, especially between, let's say, 7 and 13, 14 degrees of Taurus and Scorpio, very significant as well. This could be a very interesting lunar eclipse coming up. So hold on to your hat if you're interested in knowing or getting a few clues as to what might be happening for you in what area of life. You can reach out to me. I'd be happy to take a look at your transits. Head over to my website, jovystar.com, and we can take a look. Now, moving forward, and I'm not going to advance the clock. I was thinking I might change the chart, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to point out that between now and the lunar eclipse on the 15th, we also have Venus right here. She has moved into Aries. She moved into Aries, I believe it was Sunday. And we have Jupiter that has been swimming around. Oops. Let me fix that. Who's been wading and swimming around in water. And Venus first, already there. Jupiter next on May the 10th. Both moving into Aries. Coming out of watery Pisces, where we have been getting in touch with our spirituality, hopefully exploring that more, or just in a fog, wanting to escape, feeling sad, all the things that I described, going into Aries. Now, this is interesting that Venus and Jupiter will be in Aries at the same time, and even more interesting and potentially helpful that this energy is occurring in between the new moon, where we planted seeds or we're being pushed towards simplifying our life, and the lunar eclipse, where there's something we may have to give up significantly to actually move towards a new way of existence. Whatever we've come up with coming out of that Pisces energy, or whatever we're being pushed towards, Venus and Jupiter moving into Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, is a new cycle. It's a new cycle for Jupiter. Jupiter moves around the zodiac in 12 to 13 years, depending on retrograde. So it's a brand new Jupiter cycle, and Jupiter brings blessings. Jupiter makes things bigger. It allows us to really lean into our truth. in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, it's a new start, but it's also energy that we're not used to. So we may not quite know how to work with it on a mature level. You know, Aries is the baby of the zodiac and it just goes for it. So we're talking about vitality, wanting to rush in and take our ideas or liberate ourselves in some way, and that's in a big way. So Aries and Jupiter in Aries is like masculine energy, action-oriented energy, fighting energy on steroids. So it could be good to give us the vitality and the courage to move forward into what we've gotten in touch with during all of that swimming around in Pisces and figuring things out. Venus in there. Now we know what we value. We know what we want to go for. So this is very strong, active, heroic even energy. There are ups and downs to every energy, and although this is going to power us up and give us some vitality, we have to be careful that we're not coming out of processing our emotions and feeling the collective energy, feeling aggressive, feeling angry, because that isn't what we would want to project out there. I feel like, when I was thinking about this, I feel like Jupiter and Venus moving into Aries, along with, oh my goodness, writing, sorry about that, you guys. Along with Chiron, which it has been asking us for quite some time. Chiron is the wounded healer, represents our primal wound, and so we're looking at a collective chart. So that's the wound of society, the wound of people in general. With Jupiter and Venus moving into Pisces, along with Chiron that has been there, this makes me want to say that we have the opportunity to be the hero of our own story. What have we learned? What do we truly believe? Where do we sit spiritually? Is there something that we're coming out of? If we're coming out of depression or sadness, we now have the opportunity to stand up for ourselves, to work hard on behalf of ourselves, to speak our truth. We also have and may see some people coming out of that energy feeling more suppressed and angry and looking for their just dues, their payoff from society, from people. We might see some of that, but I think we will see a lot of altruistic, very big moves on behalf of ourselves and our own healing, as well as what we can contribute to society. It's like fight for yourself, fight for our society, our independence. Aries is about independent action, for a reason, for a purpose, fighting for something. So that's what that made me think of. It's sort of, we have the opportunity to be the hero of our own story. I love that, right? Okay, so we will have the lunar eclipse on May 15th. I'm going to do some live personal readings where I will post it beforehand, and everybody can send in their birth information, and I'll look at their transits for a very small reading fee as opposed to signing up or booking a big reading, and I can actually help give some clues as to what might be happening for you as an individual based on these energies, these eclipses. So I'm working on doing that. It's just like moving the charts back and forth and trying to get it to where it's efficient and learning this new software. And so sometimes things just take a little bit of time. See, that's one of the new seeds that I'm birthing, is to try and become more efficient and simplistic in my videos and my studies. And of course, Saturn is hitting me as well, saying, okay, you've got some stuff to learn here, and this may not feel very comfortable. So that's just one thing, but it's a good example of how this can play out too, so in my own life. So I hope you all are doing well. If you have questions, drop them down in the comment section and I will get back to you. If you're interested in a personal reading, please head over to my website at joviestar.com. I would love to read for you. Thank you for supporting me in the growth of my channel. I could not be more grateful. I will see you soon. Take good care. May the stars forever be in your favor.